What's up, guys? Welcome back to the MSR workshop. So I know it's been a little while, but I have got a fun new video for you today. We are going to be doing another unboxing and trying out some new equipment, one of which is an entirely new camera setup that I will be doing a video entirely on, so stick around for that. But we are here for this unboxing, so let's get into it. So the kind people at Longer Lasers sent me another laser review. And I know in my last video I said I had done a bunch of laser videos, but they were kind enough to send me this new laser. So I am excited and actually looking forward to trying this out. This is the new Longer RAY5 20-watt diode laser. I've had the 5, I've had the 10, and now this is the 20. Now this is the upgrade module, which includes the laser head and actually comes with stepper drivers, a new power source, and some new cabling. So we are going to actually install that on our previous unit and kind of see how it works, how easy it is to install, and maybe do some cutting with it. So stay tuned. So the unit that we're going to be installing this on is the same unit that you would use for the Longer RAY5 and the Longer Ray 10-watt diode lasers. Now the nice thing about this one is it came with this really nice little touch screen and user interface. So we use the same machine, but we actually swap out this module. So we are going to do that right now. So before we do that, let's go ahead and move this unit aside and go ahead and open up our box that Longer sent us. So this module is supposed to be the 20-watt module, which makes it so you actually have 4 5-watt diode lasers in there, 5, 10, 15, 20, and they are all combined internally and focused into one beam, and that's how you get your 20 watts. Usually most diode lasers are 5.5 watts, so your rating is around 18 to 21, so somewhere right in there. So taking this new module out, one of the first things you'll notice when you get this is how much larger this is compared to the previous one. And I will do a side-by-side as soon as I get the other one off, and I'll also compare it to the 5-watt module. So this is going to be your new power supply, all of your new cabling, looks like you have a new mounting bracket, a little bag of screws, which we'll go ahead and leave in there. You have a large piece of, looks like clear acrylic, and I highly doubt this is cutting through acrylic, but we will do some test cuts on that piece anyways. A couple washers. Now, one of the new things that they've added with this 20-watt module is the addition of limit switches. So before it was just when you turn the machine on, you always would need to have it in the home position, and it would internally remember where you are and home from there. Now you actually have limit switches, so if it gets off, it will home itself to these. You have your height adjustment knobs, is what it looks like here. Yep. And then we have another little bag of screws, which we'll go ahead and leave in there. I'm really curious about this clear acrylic here, because typically diode lasers do not cut acrylic. And then you have a very nice cooling fan on the top, but you do have quite a bit more weight. So let's go ahead and move this now, and we'll get the module off the other one, and then kind of do a side-by-side comparison in the size difference. First thing we'll do is we'll go ahead and just unscrew the laser module itself off of the height adjuster. And that's right, there is a little Allen key for the back, so we do have to grab an Allen key. And in the box, they did not provide Allen wrenches, so you will have to use the existing ones that came with your machine. So now that we're off, we will go ahead and unplug it. And so this is what our little laser unit looks like. Doing a real quick side-by-side comparison, you can see how much bigger this one is compared to this one. About double the width, and yeah, a lot smaller. And this is the 10 watt. So there's supposedly 2 diodes in here. This is the 20 watt. So 2 laser modules, 4 laser modules. And last but not least, we are probably going to have to unplug this internally from this. So we are going to need to take this off and open it up so we can plug the new cables to the board. So now that we've got this taken off the machine, we are going to have to open up the back of this and plug all of these little cables in. So paying attention to what you hook up in here is, and these have little bits of red paint on them. So the next part here is you have to actually put this front plate on that they supply you, and the way you have to do that is you take the 3 screws out for this big metal mounting plate, and that is actually running through the top and lower guide bearings. So you have to pull all those apart. You can do it one of 2 ways. You can take the whole unit off, take it apart, or do this while it's on the machine. So now that we've got this plate attached, we're going to go ahead and take our laser module with these 2 little pins up. Obviously you want the fan pointed up. Just put it in the slots and let it rest on the table. Now it comes with these 2 little screws, which you'll screw from the back side, and then you can put your leveling pins in. So next we're going to go ahead and attach our limit switch. They come with a little screw already attached to it, so when you stick it in the slot, you want to make sure that little screw kind of flips to the side so it can lock the thing down. So once you get the little screw kind of flipped around so you can tighten it down, I'm going to go ahead and tighten it down. Now here I did it incorrectly, and what I did wrong is I actually shoved it all the way back in the corner. You don't want to do that. You basically want the back of the limit switch a little bit in front of that little post there, and that's where it's going to actually register properly. Hey guys, really quick before we get into the cutting, I just want to talk about something really quick. So when you are getting your Longer RAY5 20 watt diode laser upgrade kit, it will come with the laser module itself. It will come with the limit switches. One thing you have to do, which it doesn't really talk about, at least not in the kit that I was sent by Longer, is that you have to upgrade the firmware in the machine so it does recognize the limit switches. I found the process a little bit confusing and not very intuitive. I tried multiple times to get it to work, and I could not get my machine to recognize the limit switches. So I had to reach out to the Longer tech support people, who were very kind and quick to respond. And they tried to troubleshoot with me a couple times, and it turns out that I had a bad board installed in the machine. So they sent me out a replacement board. Now they sell the replacement boards on their website. They're about $79, give or take a few bucks. And they actually sent it out pre-installed with the new firmware on this. Now, I will leave a link in the description below where you can find the upgrade firmware, but I would encourage you to reach out to Longer if you are going through this process, and they will hopefully kind of walk you through the process. I kind of wish it was pre-installed on the machine and there was just something you could toggle on and off so you didn't have to go through the lengthy process of installing a new firmware and then installing a configuration packages. Yes, that is right. There is 2 things you have to install. Hopefully that's a bug that they get worked out, but they were great in providing me with the upgraded board with the software already installed, so I was able to get to cutting immediately. Keep that in mind when you're going to upgrade. Now, if you're ordering this already as a complete unit, it will already be installed for you, but if you're getting, say, from the 5-watt to the 20-watt diode, you will have to possibly do some upgrading. Now, let's jump over to doing our test cutting with our 20-watt diode. So the process of starting this machine up first is, of course, plugging the machine up and then powering it on. Once you power it on, you are safe to go ahead and start up LightBurn. Yes, I'm using LightBurn. I consider it the best program out there, and pretty much any laser, if it's worth buying, it is worth using on LightBurn. If you turn LightBurn on first prior to starting the machine up, it will not recognize it. You want to use a GRBL setting in LightBurn. Now, if you are upgrading from, say, the 5-watt or the 10-watt, and you've already got it connected to LightBurn, you don't need to do anything differently to use the 20-watt. It's still going to recognize it exactly the same, so that is one nice feature. So we're going to go ahead and power the machine on here. And one thing you'll notice immediately is how loud this is. It sounds like a blow dryer. So definitely not a quiet machine, but you've got quite a few diodes in there to keep cool, so I can imagine you do need to keep the heat. So looking at our controller here, there's a few basic settings. You have an engrave setting. This would be if you're using the SD card on the top. You have a control setting, which you have your X, Y, Z axis. You also have your home setting. And if I hit home now, it should. Home, actually, that's not correct. Ignore that. That is just to set a home if you don't have a limit switch. This is your laser positioning here. Something for cooling, which if I click on it doesn't really do anything. And there's another home setting. So now it should home. And it's recognized my limit switches properly. So let's jump over to LightBurn and do a test cut. So now opening up LightBurn here, I want to go ahead and select my laser, and is the Longer RAY5. And I am setting this to 410 by 410, so it should be a big square. And just to make sure that I have got this connected, I'm going to go ahead and connect this guy here and click on my screen, and my laser head should move, which it did. So the next thing here is we want to go ahead and we want to pick a material test. So in LightBurn, we go up to Laser Tools, and then we would hit Material Test. So this is set by a 10 by 10. We can go, let's do 20 by 20, see what this looks like. And speed and power, let's go ahead and do minimum. We'll do 5 millimeters per second, and max of 300, that's fine. And minimum power, 10%. Let's do 5% and max of 100%. And preview. So this should take a total of 11 minutes. Now we're going to go ahead and hit frame. And we're very close to getting done. Now, last but not least, let's go ahead and focus it. Now, LightBurn sends this big block of acrylic. That is a focusing block. That is not a test piece to cut because diodes still cannot cut through clear acrylic. So we're going to slide that underneath. Make sure that is touching. Let's go ahead and let that sit on there. Tighten that down. Pull that out, and now we are ready to cut. So our engraving is over, this cut test. Now this is probably bigger than what most people would do. Now this is a 20 by 20, default is a 10 by 10, but let's see how we did. Really nice shading on all of that. That looks pretty great. All the way up to 100, cut perfectly through this piece of Baltic birch ply. 25 probably could be pushed through, and then anything past, from, let's see, 5% power at 5 millimeters a second. It marked that one, but nothing really above that, so you can see you kind of trailed off. But 30 to 100% at 5. Now it went from 5 to 21, and that's a fairly big jump. So if you went to 10, you would probably get a lot of these cut out. And if I changed my range, so if I change my range from, say, minimum of 5 instead of doing 300, I did like 100, we would probably see a ton more of these cut out. But this really gives you a nice idea of shading. Really nice gradient. So did a really great job. And you can see they're really clean lines. We used air assist. Now I've got this hooked up to an external air assist, running at about 30 psi. And that's what I use my CO2 laser on as well. Now the small aquarium style pump does an okay job, but if you do more pressure, you get an immense less amount of burning. Now I did a video specifically on choosing which type of air assist is best, and I will leave a link right above that, but it's a great video just showing the difference it can make with a higher pressure air assist system. Okay, so the next thing we're going to try is we're going to see how thick stuff we can cut. Now, cutting is subjective here. Understand that, yes, you can cut through really thick things, and a lot of these companies will say you can cut through 14, 15, 16 millimeter stuff, but what they don't say is how many passes it's going to take and what your edges look like afterwards. If you don't mind them being charred to death, then okay, but if you want to, say, do this in one pass, and your edges still look halfway decent, maybe even 2 passes, 3 passes, then that's something to consider when understanding thickness of materials. So I'm going to put in a 10 millimeter piece of cherry. Actually, I take that back. I'm going to put in a 11 millimeter piece of cherry. And we are going to see if we can cut through it. All right, so we're going to cut out a square. We are going to go for 100% power, 5 millimeters a second, and we are going to be using 30 psi of air. we look at that, no way that it made it through. Let's slow that down even more just to see what we can get. So we are going to bump this down to 1 millimeter a second. So severe scorching, did not make it anywhere even close to get through the backside. So we know that this will not cut through that thickness of cherry. Now let's put that back and let's try multiple passes. So we're going to go at 100% power. We're going to go back to the 5 millimeters a second, but instead of one pass, let's make 4 passes. All right, moment of truth, people. Oh, look at that. So that's 4 passes. And as far as charring goes on the edges and on the back, you can see how clean it is with that 30 psi air. So 4 passes. Let's see if we can do this in 3 passes. So 3 passes. Oh, look. We popped out. 3 passes. At 100% power. Backside still looks just as good. A little bit less charring. So that is 12 millimeter cherry. We had success at doing 12 millimeter cherry with 3 passes, and it actually did really good. So let's jump over to doing some actual engraving, because these machines do a wonderful job with engraving. So I'm going to get my picture set up and I'll be right back. Let's take a look at what we got. So this is our Deadpool picture, and I did it in a grayscale. Now, I am not very good at doing photorealistic images because I don't do it a lot, but this seemed to turn out very well. And the nice thing about a diode laser is you can go all the way down to 0% power. On a CO2 laser, you have a minimum power that your laser will fire at. So with a diode laser, you have a huge range of the ability to shade a lot. So you can go all the way down to 1% power, all the way up to a max of 100%. And so you have that entire range that you can do shading in. So that's why diode lasers actually do really, really well for engraving and doing photorealistic type images. Like I said, this was done in grayscale. There's another one called dithered, which does really, really well for photorealistic images as well. But like I said, I am not the best at doing this, but just so you guys can see, this did do quite well with the shading and everything, with just me being a beginner on the settings. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed that video, and that was just a test of what this Longer Ray 20-watt diode laser can do. If you want to know more about the Longer RAY5 20-watt diode lasers or any of the lasers that they carry, be sure and check out my links below. That will take you to the Longer website, but it also helps out in my channel as well. As with any lasering project, it's going to take practice. The first time you turn the laser on, it may not turn out perfect. Even somebody who's done a lot of lasering still messes things up, and that's okay. That's why you need to practice and keep trying and don't give up. If you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, or would like to see me make something on this laser, be sure and leave them below. And until next time, thanks again.